Hi, Iostix here. I am a professional FPS coach and former professional coach for Overwatch League organizations like the New York Excelsior and the Boston Uprising, with now more than 5 years of professional coaching experience under my belt, running the biggest private coaching business over at iostix.com and helping out players for free over on my Discord's Ask Stux Anything channel. So before we get into the game, can you quickly give me a rundown? Like in your own words, what is... Imagine I'm like a friend of yours, I've been playing Overwatch for a while, and I want to pick up Soldier. I know the fundamentals of the game, but Soldier specifically, how should I play him? How do I win games?
I try to play in mid-range. I try not to push too far ahead. I try to stay behind the tanks and try to maintain high ground when I don't get pushed down, I don't know how I would explain it, I guess.
So the things you've mentioned are like good habits, but we need to kind of make the connection, like dumb it down a little, like specifically how do we win? Like when you think, try to visualize, this is a very important concept, not just for Overwatch, but in general. The first step to improving is you need to actually define what good means. You can't just say, oh, I want to get good at Soldier without even understanding what good means,
Sure.
So what does a good Soldier player look like? Like, what does a Soldier need to do in order for your teammates to all add you after the game and like send you gift cards or whatever?
Man, I don't really know. I guess what I do is I try to focus down whoever I think I can kill or pressure. And if there's like a flying hero, Echo, Pharah, Mercy, I focus them immediately.
Okay, so I think I can give you some examples. So when you think of a really good Ana player, the first thing that probably comes to mind is when the Ana just constantly lands really big nades. If you play the game and every single team fight 4 enemies get anti-naded, at the end of the game you're going to be like, Jesus Christ, this Ana was really good. When you look at a character like Sombra, she's very, very ult focused and utility focused. You're probably not going to say, oh wow, the Sombra was so good she killed everything. You're probably going to say, oh wow, the Sombra had her EMP every single fight and she just 6-man EMP all the time. So with someone like Soldier, his abilities aren't really super duper high impact like an Ana anti-nade, and while his ultimate is nice, it's also not like Dragon Blade or May Blizzard or whatever levels of awesomeness. His ultimate is okay. Which means that his main ways of being useful is either through raw DPS, which basically just means spamming headshots into tanks. The way that wins you games is because the amount of healing the enemy team has is, of course, limited. Like 2 supports can impossibly heal up 6 enemies shooting at their tanks. So you can go the raw DPS route, or a little bit higher risk, higher reward, is you can go the pick route. So with your Helix rocket and with good aim, it is difficult, of course, to get picks as Soldier, but that's the second way that you can get value as Soldier. So the way that we visualize a Soldier is either a Soldier who just constantly gets picks before the teamfight even starts, and or a Soldier who just completely melts their tanks so that, their tanks just can't do anything. Okay. Now, once we have defined that, how to play, like what good gameplay even looks like, that's when we can start to think about how we can accomplish those things. So that's where positioning, for example, comes into mind. So you said that one thing you do is you try to take high ground, right? And high ground does have its benefits, but it's not like, oh, I'm on high ground 24/7, so the game is just going to gift me a win. High ground is just a means to an end. Positioning is just a means to an end. Maybe sometimes you need to get a pick before the next team fight starts, and that means that you need to go on a flank instead of on high ground. Maybe sometimes you need to maybe the enemy team is playing double off tank, so they don't have a shield. So you just want to pump as much damage into the enemy team as you possibly can, right? If you go on high ground, you might not be able to do that because you're going to be completely isolated. So in that case, maybe just standing behind your own tank is going to be more conducive to that particular win condition. Okay. So every decision you make in the game, when to use your abilities, where to position, what targets to focus, all of those decisions are based on what your win condition actually is. What do I want to do? Okay. So the first thing, of course, is we want to figure out which of the two playstyles we want to go for, right? So we figured out that the two main things you can do is you can either go for just big damage, max DPS, or you can go for picks. And in order to decide which one we want to go for, it's best to look at the enemy team comp to see which one is going to give us more value. Okay. So if you look at the enemy team comp, does that look like a team comp where you can get picks easily, or does that look like a team comp where you can deal a lot of damage into tanks?
This is silver, right? So
ignore the rate. We want to learn how to play the game, not how to play silver games, just in general.
Okay. So because of it'll depend on their positioning, right?
No, just just looking at the enemy team comp for now.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I can pump a lot of damage into tanks, and break shield. Or if caught out of position, I can try to get picks on any of the other four. So
okay, so there are two different kinds of companies, okay? There's companies like Lamborghini, and there's companies like Walmart. Okay? One tries to be cheap, the other one tries to be very premium.
Sure.
The third option is it's called being between the chairs, where you don't really know if you want to, have cheap prices or a premium product. Okay, it's kind of the same thing here. So of course you can say, oh well, I can shoot the tanks, and then if someone is out of position, I can go for picks. The problem is that it's better to just fully commit to one playstyle, whichever one the enemy team comp is more vulnerable to. Okay. So maybe to help a little, if you look at the enemy characters, obviously the tanks aren't pickable. So you don't whenever you need to ask yourself the question, can I pick the enemy team? The tanks aren't important. So you need to look at the other four characters, and it's actually very nice because the enemy team comp is really easy to analyze in that regard. So just go through the characters and ask yourself, is that is going for picks? Is that good? Is that going to be easy against those four characters?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Are you looking at the right team?
I'm looking at the Mei and BAP mostly.
Okay. So what makes you think that the enemy team is easy to pick?
Mei's a big target, for one. And so is BAP.
Okay.
I guess I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Now, okay. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be toxic. Okay. So the enemy team comp is a star example of being absolutely terrible to play for picks into. Okay. But let me explain why. So if we look at the soldier, he sucks to pick because he has his sprint, so he can run away when he's low, and he has his healing field. So even if his healers are bad, he can just heal back up. Okay. So picking him is going to be very difficult. Mei is super difficult to pick because she has her ice block. So if she gets low HP, she can just ice block. Or even if she doesn't have that, she can put up a wall in front of her. So actually killing her is going to be impossible unless both of her abilities are on cooldown. And on top of that, if you look at the bottom left, she has 250 HP. Whereas most other squishies have 200. So Mei, very difficult to pick. Baptiste, also very difficult to pick. Because he's a support, which means he usually stands on the back, so getting to him is going to be hard. And even if you do get to him, he can heal himself with his shift, and worst case, he can immortality field. And not only can he immortality field himself, he can immortality field any of his teammates, which means they are all also more difficult to pick. And then Mercy is the queen of cock blocking anyone trying to go for picks, because even if you manage to get a pick, through the immortality field, through the ice block and the wall, through the healing, Mercy can just res it. Do you see how going for picks against the enemy team comp is going to be so incredibly frustrating that you're going to uninstall the game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So picks is definitely not the way to go against the enemy team comp, which means that we want to go for max DPS, which is actually very nice to go for max DPS because they have a Roadhog. And Roadhog eats damage like crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So against the enemy team comp, we just want to go for max DPS. We do not want to invest. Sorry. We do not want to invest any time into going on crazy flanks or 1v1ing people or whatever. Just
because I'm not going to get any picks doing that.
Like they have so many cards in their hand that there's just not a lot you can do. You know?
Okay.
Of course, sometimes you are going to get opportunities to get kills. All this means is that you shouldn't actively seek them out. You need to focus on your primary win condition, which is just max DPS.
Okay.
And in order to play for that win condition, you basically just need to shoot either the Ryan's shield, or the Roadhog. If you can shoot one of those 3 targets, you just hold down left click, you can spam your Helix Rocket, whatever. Okay? But you want to stay with your team. Okay?
Okay.
Then let's take a look. Now that we know that that's our win condition. Obviously, you didn't know this in the game, so, you know. But we want to see if that is what we can go for. Okay. So already,
I wasted resource.
Exactly. So multiple
2
things,
resources.
multiple things went very, very wrong here. So the first thing that went wrong is that you invested a significant amount of time getting to this position. Okay. But given our win condition, this position doesn't do anything for us. Like, yes, you can shoot tanks from here, but like, you can also shoot tanks from here. So being here, that time investment didn't pay off. Wasn't super worth it. That's problem number 1. And then problem number 2, you drop down your healing field. But your healing field, right, don't forget, it also heals teammates.
Yeah.
So if you plop it down here, not only does it help your team sustain, it alleviates pressure from your supports, it also gives you a bunch of ult charge.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a bad habit that I am actively trying to fix, for the record.
Going on flanks and off positions?
No, dropping my heal just when I'm about to start shooting. I don't know why I do that. I know that I need to stop.
Well, yeah, it's a healing ability. It does not give you a damage boost.
Yeah.
So, yes, just go for the healing. Okay. And then right here, if we look at the targets that you shoot, there is no real target focus. So the actual DPS that you dealt this fight so far was very low because you don't really have a lot of ult charge. And you dealt a lot of damage to the soldier, but again, not very pickable. He's in a healing field. Okay. Now he might actually die here because he's really, really split from his team. Okay. But this team fight would have been so much nicer if we just focused the front line. Okay, whittled their front line down. Now, one thing that you might be wondering is, well, if I just shoot the tanks, aren't I going to feed their supports a bunch of ult charge? The answer to that is yes, of course, but you also get ult charge, so it's always like a net good trade. You know?
Okay.
Like if you're shooting the enemy Roadhog and the Mercy heals it, like worst case it's even, but you get the bonus of also applying pressure. So always max DPS, don't worry about giving them any support or charge. So there we go. So the soldier was completely split from the enemy team and he died. Okay, which is a problem, and this is one of the issues about climbing out of low elo. Sometimes you can get rewarded for plays that are technically incorrect. Okay, because there's so many things that could have gone differently here, right? The Baptiste, I don't know, does he have his immortality field? He has his immortality field. That could have helped him. Mercy, does she have a res? She also has a res, you know? So if he wasn't this out of position, he could get resed. I mean, honestly, he can probably still get resed. Do you go for it, Mercy? Ah, well, would you look at that? Okay, she's bad. No one peels for her. But even though you got the pick, like, it just got resed, you know?
Yeah.
So you invested all of that time and effort into getting that kill, which you wouldn't have even gotten had he not been super duper out of position, only for the Mercy to res it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's issue number 1. And then issue number 2, if you look at your positioning, this is very, very, very aggressive positioning. You can see that like most of your team is positioned around this side, and you're all the way over here. Okay. And now don't get me wrong, a position like this can be very, very effective if you're trying to go for picks, or if it's like a situation where you want to go for a very high risk play. But in this situation, this position is way too aggressive, which means look what you're doing here. You went back to your team. So you constantly invest a lot of time where instead of shooting stuff, you walk from A to B. Like, you invested a lot of time going over here, then you invested a bunch of time going here, and then you invested a bunch of time going back here. So you're just walking all over the place. But when we go for a max DPS playstyle, we don't want to reposition. We just want to stay with our team, and we want to hold down left click. I don't think you've dealt a very significant amount of damage to the enemy Reinhardt so far.
No.
Okay. And especially in a Reinhardt versus Reinhardt situation, having a soldier with the front line is really, really, really valuable, because it allows the main tank to kind of win the front line more, because your tank gets a lot of healing and the enemy tank is under a lot of pressure. Okay. And that's a really good way of winning games, because if you look at like other people, if you look at the enemy soldier, he's doing the same thing. He's going for crazy flanks and really aggressive plays and whatnot. Okay. But people in low elo aren't particularly good at doing this. Their situational awareness isn't super good. Their mechanics aren't very good. So if they go for the super high risk plays, they're going to waste a lot of time doing nothing. You know, it happens very often that a soldier, like, he gets people low HP, but he can't finish them off because they always get healed. And in the meantime, you're getting guaranteed value. But this shield needs to be down by now. Because if this shield is down, their front line is exposed, the entire rest of the enemy team is exposed, and you can just burn the enemy team down.
Okay, and that's especially my job in this team, because we have a Genji, right? To help break shields.
Oh no, you don't give a shit about the Genji specifically. The reason you want to break the shields is so you can get to the tanks. Like, you don't ever do anything for your team. Once you get into like top 500 and you start scrimming with a team or whatever, then you can start thinking about like enabling your teammates win conditions and playing certain strategies and whatnot. Right here, we don't care about any of that. The only thing we care about here is, how can I generate the most value? Okay?
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant, was because we have a Genji, there's not going to be any shield break like at all.
Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah. Even if you had shield break, you would still want to go for shield break. Like, what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't, like, it's true, but it's very analytical. Like, it's very theoretical. It just doesn't affect our decision making. It's not something you have to think about during the game.
Okay.
But yeah, so then, you know, he's over there, and what does he get done? I think nothing. Yeah, see, like, his mechanics aren't very good. Like, a high-level soldier probably would have been able to get a kill on the Ana. This is not a high-level soldier, you know? So he's doing basically nothing. Okay? But in the same way, look, now you're repositioned again. Look, so you start here. You get the kill on the Roadhog, because for some reason he's not with his tanks. Then you try to go for the pick on the soldier, but you didn't get it. So waste a lot of time there. Then you spend a bunch of time running over to this corner. More time that you could have spent firing shots, you know? And then you started shooting the Mei. I don't know, does she have her ice block? She has her ice block. So what is she most likely going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Why the fuck did she not ice block? This elo is beyond me. I swear to God. Okay.
Unpredictable.
But you do see how, if this Mei had used her God-given ability, your time spent shooting her would have been utterly wasted.
Yeah.
Okay. So the pick you got earlier on the soldier, you should not have gotten. The pick you get on the Mei here, you also should not have gotten. It is incredible what is going on here. But the problem is that this gives you like very bad positive reinforcement on like bad habits. You know, because you're like, oh, I killed the soldier and I killed the Mei, and I don't care that they got rezzed and they were super out of position and they don't know how to press their buttons, you know. It's going to give you the impression that like this is how you get value, and then you keep doing it. And I think that's where you're very aggressive, kind of, oh, I need to go on high ground, I need to go there, and yada yada yada, where that playstyle comes from. But once you start climbing, you're going to start facing opponents who do press their ice block, who do recognize when maybe they should not go 1v5 on a flank. And then this is all going to kind of fall apart. And that is the main reason why most people are hard stuck. Because they they misinterpret successful plays with objectively good plays that scale into higher elo.
Okay.
You know? So
Yep.
that's why it's important that even when you do well, even when something works out in your favor, you need to ask yourself if that was objectively the best thing you could have done. You know, because something like this right here, like this is, if you were reviewing this on your own, your eyes need to light up and say like, oh wow, I got the pick here. You know, did she not have her ice block? And then you check, and then you're like, oh wait, she did. You know, and then we can say, oh okay, well, I don't think I should have done this, even though I got the kill, because a good Mei would have just ice blocked. You know, we want to learn how to play the game in a way where it doesn't matter what rating we're in. You know, being in low elo allows us to make mistakes every once in a while and still get away, but they're mistakes nonetheless. Okay. Okay. That healing field again was utterly useless.
Yep. That's a terrible habit.
Okay. But yeah, so this is all cleanup. The enemy team did, in fact, offer you that win for free, which is very nice of them. But again, right now, so you just won the team fight. What do we want to do now? You can finish typing your notes, don't worry.
I don't know. I guess I think what I do is just kind of hang out where I'm at. But I should maybe push up with the team.
I don't want maybes. I want reasoning. What's your thought process? What are you thinking?
I should push up with the team.
There's still no why. I need to know why. Like, you can't just guess every single possible thing you can do until I go, yes, that's correct. Like, what's your thought process? Like, what are the arguments for, or what are the arguments against? Like, what led you to that decision?
All of my team is up at main choke.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good reason, right? So doing the same thing that our team is doing is pretty good.
Yeah, so I'm doing literally nothing by staying back on point, aside from maybe watching for flanks.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think your teammates are pushing up? What are they seeing that you're not seeing?
They're probably chasing.
Yes,
somebody.
They're chasing. They're trying to push their lead. They just won a team fight, you know, and they want to see how much they can get out of that.
Okay.
They want to try and snowball. You know, like the enemy team is, I like to call it bleeding. Like the enemy team is kind of bleeding out, you know. So after you win a team fight like this, you need to play aggressive. You need to go in. You need to completely wipe them out, first of all, so you can build your ult charge lead even further. And ideally, you can cause a trickle. Because when enemies die one after the other, they also respawn one after the other, which means they go in one after another, which means you can pick them off one after another. So that way you start a snowball. And the only way to break that snowball is if the enemy team regroups. But no offense, this is not an elo where people regroup.
No, it is not.
so they are very vulnerable to getting snowballed. So after you win a team fight, you need to play with confidence and really aggressive, because you have the upper hand and you need to keep them on the ground. Okay? But if everyone is just standing back here, then you allow them to regroup, you allow them to get their cooldowns, you allow them to kind of figure out what they want to do, and you allow them to push into you. But you want them on their back foot. You want them to try and figure out how they can deal with you. Okay?
Okay.
So yeah, this right here is called a low tempo play that you're doing right now. So a tempo play is when you have momentum, when you just won a team fight or you got a pick. And then a tempo play is when you do something that keeps up that momentum, when it keeps up the tempo. Like, oh, we got one kill, let's get another. Let's push up, let's take this position, let's take that space, let's get more ult charge, let's do this, right? This is low tempo because you're slowing down. Like, your team wants to play very aggressive, very fast. They want to go in, they do stuff, let's go. And you're like, let's just chill, let's play slow, let's wait for them to do this, let's wait for them to do that, right? And right here, you do not want to play slow. A situation where you might want to play slow is, let's say you're defending a point. Let's say you're defending first point Hanamura, and your team is very close to their ultimates. Maybe your Zarya needs 20% until she has her ultimate. In that case, the Zarya might want to play slow because she wants to wait for her ultimate. She wants to get her ultimate, right? So that's a slow tempo play. But in this case, after you win a team fight, you just go in aggressive. Because yeah, this is what happens. So now your Genji has died because no one is here. Okay. A soldier, you can help your team break the Mei wall. If you're with your team, right, like your team gets kind of stuck in a choke, right? When you play with the team, it also causes them to play more aggressively, right? Right here, the less people there are, the more they feel like they're overextending. If you're here with them, they're more likely to push in and get out of this choke, right? Because look, the Genji wants to go in, but the rest kind of hesitates, and then the Genji gets walled off. You're not there with them, you know? After winning that team fight, you could have completely wiped them out. Look, like the Ryan is still in spawn. This right here, if you look at the numbers, is technically a 6v. Like if you were with the team, you know, Reiner is going to like charge in, and then he's here as well. It's a 6v5. You can abuse that advantage and play very aggressively. But instead, your team is left in like a 4v5 type situation if you count the Mercy as well. And we don't want that.
Okay.
Yeah, so your Genji died, which is very problematic because now the enemy team has the momentum. You guys do get a pick, right? So this pick is actually really, really nice. Okay, at least this time she has an excuse. She did not have her ice block up. If she died again without using ice block, I would have been very disappointed. But okay, so you get the pick there. You equalize the fight. So using your ultimate in general here is okay because you equalize the fight. Your Genji got picked, but you equalized by getting a pick on the enemy team. The timing just isn't good because I'm not sure who you're ulting. Like you don't really have a target, you know?
I should have waited for them to push in a little bit first.
Like recognizing that this is a good time to ult and then like actually capitalizing on an opportunity to ult are like two separate things. So right here you should have recognized, oh, I need to start looking for an ultimate. I just equalized the fight. But you kind of skipped a step and you went from, you just went straight to ulting. So yeah, it's very, very easy for the enemy team to completely ignore you. But again, the enemy team is dumb. I don't know. How did he die? Did he jump? Oh my god. Okay, I want you to take a very close look at the brilliance of this Baptiste, who is currently standing in his immortality field. Okay, unkillable in his immortality field. And then he decides to just jump out of it. Truly brilliant, you know? Why not just stand behind the big juicy shield inside the immortality field? Again, I don't mean this in like a disrespectful way towards the enemies, but it just kind of goes to show that like if you just learn the fundamentals and you play for your win condition and you just chill and you play aggressive when you can and you just fundamentals, you don't even really need to win. You just need to lose less than the enemies are losing. And they're just going to give you the fight for free. Okay, see, so this is an example where you started shooting the Mei. She has her ice block. Total waste of time. Instead, it would have been better to just help your team kill the Reinhardt here. Okay. The enemy team comp hasn't changed, so it's just better for us to focus what our team is focusing. But okay, for some reason you guys won again. Again, this is like super random. And again, look where you are. You're walking back. You just won a team fight, and instead of doing something with it, you're like, you know what, Roadhog, you can go in on your own. I'm just gonna chill back here.
I was probably like, stupid Roadhog, push. You know?
Yeah, just push the lead. Because look, you know, like the soldier is like in spawn, the Mei is like chilling over here. Play aggressive, help your team. Like Roadhog and soldier, those shields are melting. They don't last 3 seconds against the two of you. And the earlier you start shooting the shield, the earlier it comes down. Right? If you start shooting the shield while the Rhine is coming out of spawn, by the time he actually reaches your team, he doesn't have a shield. He can't do anything. Okay? But instead, it's your Roadhog and your Ana who do the shield breaking. You know, why is Ana doing more shield breaking than you? And then look what the enemy team does. They engage.
Yeah.
They should not be able to engage here. And then they get the kill, and like now you're dealing a lot of tank damage, but it's too late. Way, way, way too late. Okay, so this is technically the halfway point of the session. So here's what I suggest after I clean my nose. So we're going to cover any final questions that you have. I do highly recommend we just bank the second half of the session.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a note.
It's gonna be a lot of the same old if we just keep
basically,
watching.
yeah. So it's just in your best interest to get. So you have some time to actually implement the stuff that we've talked about, and then you can just. I'm going to send you the scheduling link. There you go.
Can I go over my notes with you real quick just to make sure I didn't misinterpret anything?
Yeah. No, that's what we're doing now. So you can go over the notes and you can also ask questions.
Okay. So what I have written is keep to one account, play solo, play 3 to 4 hours a day. I wrote down that I'm going to focus Soldier, Ash, Cassidy. Soldier, I wrote down big damage and picks, decide which depending on the enemy team comp. If the targets are easy to kill, then go for picks. If not, go for damage on tanks. Play aggressive after winning a team fight for ult advantage and to stagger respawns and keep the momentum.
Yes. That is eerily effective note taking right there. Okay, well, perfect. I mean, that's basically it. Do you have any questions about anything we've covered?
Well, not really. I feel like I took it all in,
It's going to take a bit of time to implement, and it's going to require a lot of confidence. So it's since you're going to be changing your playstyle a lot, and you're all of a sudden you have a lot of stuff to think about. And when you have a lot of stuff to think about, it makes you hesitate more. It slows down your gameplay because you're not playing from intuition anymore. You're actually thinking about your decisions, which means you're going to play worse at the start. Until eventually you get used to having to think about all this stuff. But at least for now, it's just going to be super overwhelming. The important part is that right now you have nothing to lose. Okay? Yeah. If someone is rank 1 in ranked, then he has something to lose. Like, oh shit, if I lose this next game, I'm going to lose my rank 1. You have fuck all to lose. Like, no offense, but your SR is worth nothing. No one is going to say, oh, what? You have 2,000 SR? Oh, damn, like, that is so nice. I want that. I'm going to give you like $300 for that. Not going to happen. If you lose SR, nothing happens, So just focus on implementing those things. If you drop a little bit, it doesn't really matter. Remember, have you ever seen an unranked to GM stream?
Yes, I watch them. I watch them frequently. Yeah.
Don't try to learn anything from them because they don't actually play very correct. They play like super aggressive and entertaining. But the point is, if you're good enough to reach a certain rating, you'll get there within a day if you really wanted to. Okay. So even if you drop down all the way to 1 SR, if in that huge loss streak you manage to improve to a high level, you're going to get all of that SR back within a few hours. Okay. So trust me, once you're good, like, don't feel like, oh, like you need to fight about every single SR point. Getting SR becomes really easy once you're good at the game. Like, you're going to be surprised how easy it is to consistently win games once you have those fundamentals down. And again, just give it time. Don't be scared of trying stuff out. Just play with confidence, and then we'll get there. And then with the next session, maybe, again, it depends on how much time you invest. If you are going to stick with the 12 hours, I would probably give it at least 2 weeks until the follow-up session.
I was thinking about a month, depending on where I sit.
Oh yeah, again, like, ultimately it depends on like how much progress you're making. 1 month sounds like a bit much. If you want to wait that long, I highly encourage you to just like stay in touch via DMs and ask questions so you don't like go steer too far off the road or whatever the saying is.
I have two questions for you.
Yes.
Ash and Cassidy.
Yes.
Are played similarly to Soldier?
Not quite. So with Ash, you can either go for picks like Soldier, But her alternate win condition is around her ultimate. So you
Okay.
don't really care too much. Like you still want to deal tank damage, but your overarching goal is to just get your ultimate as quickly as possible and then go for like big bobs.
Okay.
And then Cassidy is like kind of in a league of his own. um, Basically, you can go for picks. Most of the time, you play very like reactively frontliney. Like you basically
Okay.
just stand with your tanks and you try to punish people who get close to you or your tanks with your flashbang.
Okay. Then the second question
Mm-hmm.
is there ever a reason to swap off of soldier? Like, are there any hard counters that I just wouldn't be able to deal with?
Generally speaking, characters cannot be countered by other characters. They can
Okay.
only be countered by a comp. So, for example, if you play someone like Tracer and the enemy team have one character that's annoying for you, that's not going to prevent you from being able to play Tracer because there's 5 other people. But if the entire team comp coordinates to make your life hell, then you might need to swap. But
Okay.
that
Okay.
probably isn't going to happen in low elo. You know, they're not going to be like, oh no, it's Fraggle on his signature pick. We're just going to all focus him down. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, no, there's nothing you really need to worry about. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate it, man.
no problem. Then you have the link to schedule the session. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out. And
Okay.
I wish you the best of luck.
All right. Thank you so much.
Godspeed. See ya.
Yep. Bye.